1, check 2.
Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us around the world. It's time for the Matthew Ball we've been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude. We moving, and we go into that fight just to land on the line.
Boxing fans, this is the Rope-A-Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We are live on a Tuesday afternoon, pretty much per usual. Once in a while, I'll switch it up and do a Tuesday night or whatever. Sometimes life gets in the way, but we are back to talk about a variety of things when it comes to the sport of boxing. Obviously, we'll start with what happened in the ring last weekend. Anthony Joshua scored a knockout over Kubrat Pulev. And also, Mayweather, a Mayweather cameo, which was kind of strange. That one kind of threw me off. Sorry, I got a little distracted there. Also, Shakur Stevenson returned. Chris Colbert returned as well and had a good showing. Nakatani beat Verdejo in a surprise knockout there, the way the fight was going anyway. We knew it was going to be a really, really close fight, a competitive fight, a good fight, especially for, Verdejo basically it seemed like they were trying to line him up for Teofimo. He didn't quite get there. We knew Nakatani was a stud, though, in many ways. Stud's pretty much overdoing that, but a good-ass fighter. He gave Teofimo something to think about, no doubt about it. Sorry about that. I hear you. Sorry, I got a couple of messages there. So anyway, we'll also look at the upcoming weekend. Canelo returns. There's some more information as far as the new price point for DAZN subscription. They just released it today, which is kind of strange, although, it is Tuesday. I'm assuming they have some more fights to announce with this package as well, but it's not your traditional pay-per-view. It's $70, but it's $70 for 4 months. We'll go into that a little bit. This stuff doesn't surprise me, that the price is going up or whatever. I'm wondering at some point if that $100, pay $100 one time for the year will be going away, and this will be the price point that they go to, which is still a little cheaper than $20 a month, but it would be more than double a price range. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, this kind of lays the groundwork, the blueprint, if you will, for a Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua fight when it comes to where is that going to be, on ESPN, on ESPN Plus, on DAZN, on pay-per-view, all three. That's some stuff that they have some hurdles to figure out when it comes to that. We'll also catch you up a little bit on that. We do have some information, but not a whole lot when it comes to, is it next? Is Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua next? We'll preview some of the other fight stuff, fight cards going on this weekend as well. That Showtime main event COVID just hit that bad. It already hit Ubalabi a little bit ago, and now it hit Donaire, which actually affected a different fight, Angelo Leo, who got COVID because he was sparring with Nonito. So, COVID kind of beat us up in the summer as far as what was on the schedule for ESPN. Some of the interesting fights got knocked off. Then it seemed like, although Showtime, their first Fulton Leo got, postponed, or not, got postponed in a sense. That got mixed up. But for a while there, they were doing pretty good, or they could get by on their, replacement, which I thought was cool. They always had a replacement in that Clayton, like Lipinets Clayton is a good example of. A lot of people thought Clayton actually won that fight. So, but they got beat up on that one. So we'll preview the rest of the weekend. Like I said, it's a busy weekend. There's fights tomorrow, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, but none as big as Canelo Alvarez returning against Callum Smith. And, a couple other news items out there. Broner's in the news. Of course, just fight news, current fight news, and we'll have a little bit of our boxing Twitter segment where we break down just ridiculous fanboy tweets or media, which kind of sometimes turn into fanboy tweets. We'll also talk about Bob Arum, what he had to say about a Sean Porter fight against Terrence Crawford and what he thinks is a fair offer, which is pretty ridiculous. He's basically, instead of negotiating, he's negotiating with the press or whatever you want to call it. And he's already on this take it or leave it, or we'll see if you're willing to, it's just like, wow. So there's been no offer, but you're going to already talk about the offer publicly. That tells me you're really not interested in that fight. But who knows? Maybe the other side will be interested. And we can all see a good fight between Crawford and Porter, but we'll see. So we will be talking about, like I said, we'll start in the ring. And I'm going to explain that pay-per-view stuff, by the way. I'm getting some texts saying it's pay-per-view. What? It's pay-per-view, but it's not exactly like a one price, that's it. It gets you 4 months. We'll give you a little bit more detail. Like I said, I have it. This is just coming out today from what I know. I know they're doing a worldwide launch, including, of course, the UK with Callum Smith and Canelo. That makes sense in the UK. What is it, $2 there? So even the package I pay, which is $100 a year, which is $833 a month basically for DAZN, that's still over 4 times more than what you pay in the UK for it. And obviously, if you go up to 20, you just do it 1 month. That's 10 times the price. So people were wondering why pay-per-views are more over here, 25, 30 in the UK and 75 here. Well, that kind of tells you some more about why the price is more for DAZN here. Obviously, the money they invested here has a lot to do with it. Anyway, if this is your first time listening to the Rope-A-Dope Radio Podcast, welcome. It streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. It streams live at archives. However, you don't have to go to Blog Talk and download the show there right to your phone or listen to it in the browser. You can find this platform at Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker, really all across the board. We're also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, which can be found everywhere, including Spotify. While you're at it, why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. And one more thing, if you're thinking about cutting the cord or you're not quite happy, I got something for you. It's called AT&T TV Now. It's live streaming cable TV. They have a 7-day free trial. There's no annual contract. The plans start as low as $55 a month. You can stream it anywhere, of course. They have the cloud DVR as well. And right now, just for signing up, you do get a 30-day free trial of HBO Max. One more thing, then we'll get to the boxing. If you sign up for the AT&T TV Now Max package, that'll already include HBO Max, plus a free month of Showtime, which is normally $11 a month. And obviously Showtime and boxing, there you go. It's AT&T TV Now, like I said, live streaming cable. Okay, so I'm already getting a couple more messages, too. I got a couple DMs, too. Okay, so here's the deal. I wasn't going to start with this, but we might as well just get that out of the way. So DAZN is coming up with a new price point that, they say even in the article at Sportico that it's not a pay-per-view because you're getting, it's not a pay-per-view because it's not just one night. And obviously, you pay-per-view. It says it's not a pay-per-view. People may think that, but it's not true. If it were true, we would sell you the fight and not give you 4 months of access. We're creating a long-term relationship with the boxing fans in the U.S. We just wanted to find them, we just want to find them and want them to find us. So they're clearly kind of switching up a little bit instead of hitting it hard on the digital media with ads and even like commercials, the fight season commercials and all that. Like on Sunday night, NBC has NFL football, right? Well, sometimes that's when you'd see a commercial for fight season. Obviously they are either cutting back on their money for marketing or they've decided to do this. It's basically $70 for Canelo. Like you can do it on, in demand. So it's available in 55 million homes to DAZN and in demand. So basically, if you buy the pay-per-view on, in demand, basically on 55 million different cable homes, basically, you get, so that'll cost you $70, but you get 4 months of a DAZN subscription. They give you a little code. So it breaks down to about $17.50 a month, which it normally, if you just go month by month, or you just, Canelo's fighting, and Garcia's fighting in a little bit, cool, I'll just buy this month. That's $20. So they save you $2.50 there. And if you're, if you paid the $100 for the whole year, you're still only paying $8.33. So it's $70 for 4 months. So basically, they used to do $20 for a month. They still have that. They do $100 as far as I know. I should actually, during the show here, go and check that out because I'm assuming at some point that $100 thing, it must not have been as successful as they thought, or maybe too successful, and they thought, shit, too many people. Now, a bunch of the hardcores are probably paying $8.33, So it saves you a little money if you just, instead of doing the 1 month, $2.50. But if they turn this into what they do, every 4 months, the offer, then you are more than doubling the price because you go from $8.33 to $17.50. And remember, they went from $9.99 to $19.99, 10 to 20 basically already. So I don't know, if that's actually what's going to happen. I'm assuming you can still get the $100 deal. And I'm already getting, here we go. You can still get the annual right now. Says saves 58%. So you could still get the $100 for a year as of right now, just so you know. So those people that are wondering, and that's right now, so it's still offered there. Now, what does that mean long term? Will they decide to go to this model? And it would be $17.50, which is cheaper than $20, but still, now you've raised the price double on your hardcore fight fan too. I don't know how much how much dent that would really put into it. I don't know, but that's that. So when you see pay-per-view in the headlines, it doesn't necessarily add up to straight up pay-per-view. You know what I mean? It's not traditional, but it was kind of funny how they're saying, pay-per-view's dead. Everybody's going to jump on board. And even when it was $10 a month, I don't know. It was always some people in the media and boxing fans on Twitter would say, they could get this thing will work at $10 a month and they can get 1.5 million really easy to follow. And I'm like, just for boxing? No, I don't know. Even my Showtime's $11 a month right now. I think standalone's 12 or 14. But you get boxing, but you also get shows that I like throughout the year. You also get a lot of documentaries. So it's all about what you're looking for, the value and stuff like that. But let's just say 5 years ago, the last 5 years, let's say, of HBO, 1.5 million was a really good rating, right? And obviously HBO, gave you a bunch of other content. Go back, 8 to 10 to 12 years, they could get to that 1.5 million rating a lot more often than they did, say, the last 5 years. But that's when they also, if you go back to 8 to 10 years ago, that's when they had the most talent as well, because that was like the top of the food chain, HBO. So the most, besides pay-per-view, right, the most, the most popular fighters, for the most part, were on HBO at the time. So it always kind of made me scratch my head for just boxing alone to think that they're going to get 1.5 million subs every month in and month out. I never thought that was realistic. And also the overhead, what would it be able to sustain? We knew it wasn't going to be able to sustain. That's why they jumped it up. They raised the price to 100%, up from 10 to 20. But now this flex is kind of interesting. I really hope that they keep the $100 pop and you get it per year. I hope they keep that. But for me as a hardcore boxing fan, it's still great value even at $20 a month, to be honest with you, because you get a lot of UK stuff. So, it is what it is. But that is explaining that. I didn't really want to take a bunch of time on that, but it does seem like people were kind of wondering there, because I literally got multiple messages right away. So we figured that out. Okay, it's not your traditional pay-per-view. So the whole pay-per-view dead thing, it's kind of funny how now they're using the route to do it, but I think that was actually necessary, and probably should have been out there right away, because people are used to, like they said, ordering it. So they're not used to downloading an app, putting in a code. I'm talking about your average boxing fan, not people 30 and down, 40 and down, 20 and down, whatever. Anyway, let's get in the ring, shall we? That's enough business talk. Like I said, we do have the Canelo fight coming up this week, and we have some other news. Bob Arum, like I mentioned, is at it again with the Porter offer that he already tried to make public. Well, this is what I would do. He didn't send the offer, but his public offer, take it or leave it or purse bid, is just funny. Anyway, let's get to Anthony Joshua and his knockout victory. What was that? The 9th round of Pulev. Maybe the 6th round, maybe the 8th round you could give to Pulev. One of those two, if you're really nice, both of them, but that's about it. I mean, you really couldn't do much more. Pulev for a while just wasn't throwing it all, and Joshua was landing some jabs or whatever. Some decent jabs, a combo, not much though. Pulev finally started flicking his jab more, but then the 3rd round came around, and there was a counter right midway by AJ that really shook him up, and some hooks and uppercuts that followed that knocked him down. And he actually turned his back in this round. He was looking even more of a turn back than Kovalev in that rematch against Andre Ward, now that I think about it. And then there was uppercuts again, I think, for the 2nd knockdown. So it was a very dominant round. Pulev did kind of find his jab and right hands after that, but AJ was still just jabbing really well, snapping off his jab once in a while, following it by a right hand. Pulev landed a nice left hook late in the 5th that kind of turned into a pretty good round, I thought, for Pulev, that 6th round. It was kind of the best jabs he had landed. It was a close round, like I mentioned. He was also landing punches in the clinch with one hand free, which is something we talked about. But you still could have given Joshua the round from his jab and a late right hand, but maybe that was one that he won. And then basically jabs to the head and body, which I liked from Joshua in the 7th. Uppercuts midway, more combinations. He really started to explode there for a second. The 8th round, another close round for me. Pulev early had a few nice jabs, landed a good right hand, and maybe that right cross in the last 30 or 40 seconds by Joshua, along with his jab, maybe that round won the round for him. But other than that, that's it. Pulev in those 2 rounds was competitive, or maybe he won a round, like I mentioned. But then it was left hooks that started it out. I think it was uppercut, 40 seconds in or something like that, with an uppercut knockdown. The 2nd knockdown was a hard right that just knocked him out, a 10 count. But yeah, left hooks, jabs, then uppercuts, and this nice uppercut, and then a right hand. Finished off Pulev in style. People thought he took too long to get going, but he did score some pretty damn good knockdowns in the third, and you could make an argument, technically speaking, that they could have stopped the fight when he turned his back. I mean, that's just a fair assessment. You know what I mean? They totally could have. So, we'll see where this lands. But I thought it was pretty good. I know that a lot of people didn't like the way he fought Joshua against Ruiz. And I get it. I mean, some people just don't like that style. Some people think it's boring and it's this, that, and the other. And that's cool. That everyone has a right to their own opinion. But, I mean, he did what he had to do. It is better for him to fight smarter. I think that's pretty, basic. So, it is what it is. Now, he'll say that he switched up his style and he's fighting smarter, which he is. But then, in the same breath, what he used to say about Tyson Fury when Fury beat Vlad Klitschko, he said that wasn't really like a manly performance and he didn't really beat him. You have to, what did he say, something about when a king takes over someone's land, you fight with the sword and you shove the sword in his heart, or, I forgot what he said. He said something like that and then turned around and boxed like that, but only after he got beat. So can you really get mad at the guy for that? I mean, it is what it is. It does look like he's a little bit more tentative, but so would you be. I would be too. I mean, I guess the argument is he's going to turn into Vlad. But if turning into Vlad gets you, 8 or 10 years without getting beat, that'd be pretty damn good. Now, I'm not saying that style or either style, more aggressive offensively, opening up more early or sitting back, jabbing and clinching. Maybe either style is not going to be good enough to beat Tyson Fury. But if boxing is better, I just don't think he can outbox Fury. Now, Fury may look at the last fight with Wilder and how he came forward and closed the gap and, roughed him up and all that. He may try to do that to Joshua too. I wouldn't really do that. I honestly, I'd stay away from his uppercut, and I'd just try to be in the middle of the ring and just box his ears off for a while. This is what Tyson Fury had to say after the fight.
Well, there you go, everyone. Andy Joshua just shit himself live on television. He got asked did he want the fight, and he went around the bushes and put his ass in the edge. I want the fight. I want the fight next. I'll knock him out inside 3 rounds. He's a big bum dosser. Can't wait to...
So, which is really no surprise, right? I mean, that's what he's going to say. He shit his pants. But I will say this. It was kind of weird, and he has been quoted saying this, I've never really cared who had that WBC belt. It was all just about the belts. Remember, Golovkin was just all about the belts. It's just about the belts. That's it. I don't care. And I understand him saying that kind of out loud in an interview, but after the fight, they go to him and he's like, well, it was always about, he basically said the same line. It was always about the belts, collecting them all. So whoever has that belt, that's who I'm going to fight. It's like, well, we know who has the belt. The WBC belt right now is Tyson Fury. So there's no point in saying, well, it wasn't so much about this. It wasn't so, because remember when he beat Klitschko, what did he say? He screamed, Tyson Fury, where you at? So it is kind of funky how he said that, and I know a lot of people really hone in on what you say after a fight. We heard about it with Spence talking about his horses, cows, and chickens and his kids. A couple weeks before that with the Crawford, after he was saying he wants Pacquiao. They didn't really mention Spence besides Arum saying, I can beat, Crawford can beat Spence and Garcia on the same night, but they were more talking about Pacquiao. So I understand people really hone in, like I said, on the post-interview stuff. But it's Tyson Fury, clearly. I mean, whoever had that belt, it's not really about it. And then he's kind of pointing at Eddie. But the funky thing was the Mayweather cameo. The guy wins the fight, and before he has an interview or either, we all knew he won because he knocked him out. But did he even get announced as a winner yet? I don't know. All I saw is Anthony Joshua knock him out. Not long thereafter, get out of the ring to go to Floyd Mayweather and say, hey, man, and kiss and hug or whatever they did, and then got back in the ring. So it's kind of like, is that illegal tampering? No, I don't know. I mean, that was kind of a head scratcher, and that leaves some people, especially in the UK, to think, you know what, this fight's not nearly as close to being done as Eddie Hearn and a little bit lesser to an extent Bob Arum talking about. So that was a little funky. Eddie said for quite some time that the fight was that we had a 2-fight done deal, and now he's trying to just say, well, Wilder's the only one holding this up because there is some arbitration that they're going through right now to see what's up with that contract rematch clause. But this is from June. A report, Sky Sports News, breaking June 10th. Breaking news. Anthony Joshua has reached an agreement with Tyson Fury on a 2-fight deal, says Eddie Hearn, his promoter. This is what, on the Costello and Bunce podcast, this is what Anthony had to say about it.
And Anthony, we can't sit down with you without asking you a question. On June 10th, it was announced that you'd have 2 fights with Tyson Fury next year. That was 6 months ago. Where are we?
Is that the one where Tyson Fury and Eddie went on Sky?
Did no one tell you you were fighting twice next year?
No one told me about that. I was like, all right, let's go. My phone started ringing. Oi, can you get me tickets? I was like, I ain't got a clue. I might as well start flogging fake ones.
So, here's some other Sky Sports funny stuff.
Would you agree, Johnny?
But that punch powder, I think it might not go down too well. I think he'll beat Javante Davis. Now, I'm telling you, the power that young man's got, the hunger he's got, you raise your eyebrows.
Yeah,
the hunger he's got.
He's not sure.
Listen, give the boy a chance. The boy, he can fight, and he can.
That was good old Johnny Nelson saying James Tennyson beats Gervonta. He knocks him out right now with that kind of power. Just a little bit of fun little stuff there. But, it is what it is. Like, I don't know when this this deal's going to get done. Eddie Hearn in the lead up, like I said, made it seem like, he was even quoted saying that, he'll literally show you how far along we are process. He'll show it to you. So, meaning it was going to get announced maybe. But I wouldn't have been shocked if it got announced that night, you know what I mean? But I don't know, man. It's kind of funky. But we'll see. I'm not saying it's not going to get done. There are hurdles, and maybe this new pay-per-view 4-month model is a way, like I mentioned, like a blueprint to sit there and be able to get the negotiations done for ESPN over here in DAZN. Will it be on pay-per-view? Will it be traditional pay-per-view? Will it be on pay-per-view like this? Will it be available at DAZN DAZN and ESPN Plus, and they split the profits? I don't know. I know that the cable companies clearly get, a chunk of the payment there, but they also get a chunk of the subscription. So it is a two-way deal in general. So they are sharing some of that money in general. So we'll see if that kind of pays off. You know what I mean? But I really don't know. I love the fight. The thing is, if it's scheduled for April or May or something like that, I doubt they can fill a stadium in the UK vaccine or not. I really doubt it. So we'll see. You know what I mean? But it screams like Saudi Arabia, the Middle East, someplace over there where they're, basically where Joshua already fought Ruiz, and they talked about how that was, there were reports of 30, 40 million. There's reports of 60 million. So I don't know if that's the place. It would seem like that would be the place. Even if you did a large stadium, the gate-wise, would that be 20 million? I mean, his normal fights are 10 to 12. I think the Klitschko fight was, 12 million at the gate? Something like that. So let's say at max it does 20. I don't know. I mean, and then you're doing pay-per-view in the UK for $30 or something. I don't know. I mean, it may be that they go with the pay-per-view model and they just take the license, the fee that you get to put it in Saudi. So that way you can really and if it's a 2-fight deal, maybe the rematch is in the UK. I just, shouts out to the UK fans. And Eddie for years would say or not years, but the last chunk of years would say all the money is in the UK, and that's where big time boxing is. And it does suck now that he's a promoter though, so you had to kind of see this coming, but it would suck now if he talked all this shit throughout the years, and then they put it in Saudi, But it's nothing new. I mean, if you look at, the Rumble in the Jungle, right? Ali, a chunk of Ali fights, a lot of them weren't here when he got big, and people either would watch the next day replay on ABC or whatever, or they'd go to the movie theater. I mean, my dad tells me when he was younger about going to the movie theater with his friends, and it's closed circuit, So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. At least your pay-per-view's not $75 or for 2 huge fights, Mayweather, Pacquiao, Mayweather, McGregor was 100. So at least you're not going to pay 70 for it there. But it would suck if the biggest UK fight ever couldn't take place in the UK. But like I said, this is boxing. This has been going on for a long time, and people are freaking out about this. And I can understand UK fight fans. I get it, man. It does suck, especially like I said when Eddie was telling you that all the money is in the UK for boxing and all this stuff. But even with the zone, you're only paying $2 a month there. What do you pay? $25, $30 for pay-per-view. So I don't know. I feel bad for you guys, but we also pay more for pay-per-view here. So it kind of all lends itself. That's why I can't wait till the movie theaters are back, because then you're only paying $25 to go see a pay-per-view. But, it is what it is. I don't care where the fight is made as far as just a fight fan. Like I said, shouts out to the UK. I want it in the UK, but I'm also a realist. So as long as the fight gets made in 2021, second quarter or whatever, I'm all for it. Like wherever it ends up. And it may have ended up in Saudi without the pandemic. But it's hard for me to think that they're going to allow 90,000 in a stadium by May. Open air? I mean, maybe. But even if you seat half of it, 45,000, it's still not enough to pay these guys, or at least to make the money they can make on it by just going to Saudi. So either way, Joshua got the job done. Stylistically, I think Tyson Fury on the back foot, on the move, jabbing can beat him, pivoting, circling. I also think in the middle of the ring he can beat him. Just outboxing him, outskilling him. And I guess going to him, you can rough him up and all that, but you are putting yourself in range for his favorite punch, the uppercut. So I think it would actually be pretty dangerous to go inside. But once you're all the way in, then you could rough him up, even like Pulev did. But anyway, there were some other fights that we'll talk about on the docket here. We'll also preview the weekend and talk about a variety of fight news and whatnot. And by the way, I'm getting a couple more messages. I did explain that pay-per-view thing, so I'm not going to keep going over it. You can check it out earlier, or maybe later in the show I will go over it. But right about now, I'm going to go to 310. It's been a long time since he's been on, so I see that he's here. Let's bring in 310 Mark. What's going on, man? How the hell are you?
Hey, what's going on, Chris? I like to, surprise you with a little random call.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
So what's going on, man? How
I
you
missed
been?
out on my. Well, I've been good, and my Spence and Garcia prediction was 100% on point. So fuck you for making me miss that show, but it's all good. It's been good. I take a look at a couple fights last weekend. That deserve a little mention, especially because I don't know. I feel like and I listen to the outlets and I hear a lot of these other a lot of people on YouTube with relatively large followings in the media and stuff like that. I don't think they understand. Okay, I'm referring to the Anthony Joshua situation. Okay, did we forget, everybody, of what happened in the Ruiz fight? Let's keep in mind. Now, you don't have to believe this. You don't have to think it's true, even though I proved it with the over/under and all that shit over and over again. But just at least make sure that you keep this as a consideration in the background when you're predicting his future fights. He did something. He rushed before that over/under hit against Ruiz. Okay? So it looked to me, it was pretty obvious to me that he wasn't going to get paid unless that fight ended before the over/under. But people got to understand, I'm not hating on boxing. This is entertainment in general. This is sports in general. When you have investments and stakes in fighters, they understand what's going on. Floyd is showing it the blueprint now with these sideshow fights that he's fighting. Do you really think that the money would be there for Floyd if the actual betting part or the actual outcome wasn't already predetermined? They have. Because most of the purses, the revenue is coming from the betting revenue. Okay, so they have to make sure that outcome happens. So the reason why I mention that is because when you take that into consideration, we don't really know how much of a broken fighter AJ is. I'm not saying that because I'm an AJ fan. I don't give a shit.
No, I know what you're saying, though. He is really tentative.
Take it into consideration.
Yeah.
Take it into consideration. And then when we talk about the tentative part, look at it like this. That third round, you mentioned it. You got a guy standing in front of you in Pulev. The guy fucking turns his back on you. The fact that they didn't
all the way around, too. All the way around into the corner.
Exactly.
This wasn't even the Kovalev thing where he did it and then was like, no, I didn't do that,
Exactly. That's on some third grade, I'm getting bullied shit. Please get away from me. Please stop shit. That's when we stop the fight, guys. We don't let it continue. What's interesting about that is, I wonder when the over/under was, guys. Oh yeah, I didn't get to look at it till afterwards, but one site told me it was 7.5. Another site, BetMGM, said that it was 7.5. So it was somewhere around there. The knockout didn't come until, the 9th. If you look at the odds, the odds were for Joshua to win between between rounds 5 and 8, that was plus 200. Everything after that was minus, meaning the casino, whoever was making the bets, they were going to be profiting, and it really didn't make any sense to do that. So by waiting until the 9th round, you wait until after the over, which if it was me, I look at Pulev and I'm like, Joshua's going to stop him. So, when you look at that, you take all that stuff into consideration, maybe he was carrying him, guys. Maybe he was supposed to carry him. Because when I saw him and I saw his uppercuts in the first round and then the third round, and then all of a sudden he takes his foot off the gas, doesn't really make much sense. Why would I talk about this? Because take it into consideration when you're fucking predicting fights. He might not be the broken fighter that you think. Because if that's true, if the Ruiz stuff is true,
that is a good point.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what I saw from that fight. And Joshua, I mean, he doesn't, that could be the reason why he was tentative. Not because he's afraid to get knocked out. Come on. Pulev wasn't even putting up a fight. There was no resistance on the other end. What the fuck? Why didn't you just get him out of there in the fourth round? Please. Okay, so, I mean, I don't know. You could look at it.
Yeah, it was hard to even give him. You couldn't even give him around to the sixth round, even Pulev.
He wasn't even trying. Even though he's a guy standing in front of you, that's like you're just standing there. So I mean, even that sixth round, it was kind of like, yeah, like it went back and forth. But it's like, did Joshua let him do that? I don't know. Like that's. I find that interesting. I find it really, really interesting, and. I mean, I want to mention stuff like that just because it's like, I don't know. The people that
That's
are doing
definitely
this,
worth noting.
Yeah, because anyone who bets on fights, take it into consideration because it'll benefit you if you whether you believe it or not, and that you have, the more information that you have is going to benefit you, period. So it's weird. It's interesting. In that Ruiz fight, he felt so pressured in the beginning. Maybe he was so pressured and he looked like that because he knew that this fight had to end midway through the sixth. And shit, this guy's a lot better than people are making than they're making him out to be. And fuck, I gotta get him out of there before the. I have to end this fight before the sixth. Either I gotta get knocked out or I gotta knock him out. That sucks. That's a lot of pressure. You look at the look on his face in the corner. You're like, shit, this is gonna be tough. I got to look like I don't give a shit because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. So, like, fuck. But it is what it is, man. People got to understand that. So, I mean, listening to this podcast is so fucking lucky, but it is what it is. I saw Shakur Stevenson, and I got a couple of comments on that. I don't know if it was a dude that he was facing. I don't know. This guy Clary. How high level opposition is this? How is it?
I mean,
because I've never
for your 15th fight, it's fine. But yeah, it's not that high. His record looked pretty good, but he doesn't have any too many key wins or something.
Is he a big puncher? Dangerous guy? Say or no?
It didn't appear that way when he did get hit, but I can go back and check.
It did. Oh, no, I just wanted to know if you knew, off the top of your head. The reason why I mentioned it is because Shakur, what I see is, and keep in mind, this is my first time actually taking a look at him, analyzing him in this fight, and, that Karabakh, that Felix dude that he just fought. Saw a few rounds of that as well, and here are the differences that I noticed with this guy. He can't box on the move as well as the other. He can't box on the move as well as you would think for for how light of a weight he is. He doesn't move as well as Devin Haney. But again, I can't. And when I say box on the move, I mean when he moves in, you don't see him throwing punches in conjunction with his feet. Teofimo can do it to a degree. He can pot shot and do it. Devin Haney does it really, really good, but we haven't seen him do it against any top-level opposition. But yeah, for being, and this is at, 126, and he's not able to do that. I think that he might be he's good, but for him to have to stay planted with a guy like this at this low weight class, I don't see it. That's too high of a ceiling for this dude. I don't know. Do you personally place him above these other prospects, or no? Like the top dudes, the top young dudes?
Well, he did move up to 130 in this 2 fights ago, I guess. Now, so
yeah.
At the start, it was the first handful of fights, people were kind of on Shakur because he looked like an amateur and it didn't look like he had much power at all. Then he kind of transitioned into his pro style more, and you could really see it was coming into form, like I said, pro style. I believe he was 14-0, so 15-0 going into after this fight. At this level right now, I mean, he didn't lose a round, barely. He looked pretty sharp. He looked pretty good. Do I have him as high like him and Haney?
Him versus Loma at 130. I mean, you can't even compare, right?
I mean, right now, I think that he needs more seasoning than to just jump right into Loma. But sure. I guess you could, Haney's just been at it for a little longer, but he doesn't have a lot of power either, But then he hasn't faced many top-level guys either. He's faced some veterans.
But we
like
also
in
keep in mind this, though. Yeah, totally. I completely agree with all that. But keep in mind this. Yeah, Devin Haney isn't showing power, but look how he's throwing his punches. He's throwing his punches with his feet not planted, meaning he's boxing on the move. He's throwing a punch while his feet are in the air, literally. You notice when Floyd was doing that at 130, at 135, the power wasn't like there, or it's naturally not going to be like there as far as one punch stuff. I mean, because his feet weren't planted. Then when he moved up to 47, he had to plant his feet to make any sort of impact at all on his opponents. Like all guys do that when they move up. I mean, you got to plant your feet. And so I haven't really seen Devin Haney plant his feet and throw power shots. The reason why I'm a little concerned when I see Shakur throwing these punches and his feet are planted and you would just assume he'd be getting these dudes the fuck out of there. But yeah, I guess he just moved up. This guy he's went against a guy with 30 fights. But for what people are talking about him,
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, like Kevin Aioli has him his 10th. He has him as the number 10 fighter pound for pound, and that's like, really, dude. Like, we can't do that. I wouldn't even look at Haney. I know he won a belt at 126, but that's not some sort of. I know it counts as a belt, in the so many belts nowadays,
WBO,
but I don't really look at that as
even the WBO though, Chris. I mean, that's debatable.
No, well, that's what I'm. I got to finish my sentence. That's my whole point. When people say he's about to be a two-weight champion, to me, yeah, technically speaking, sure, but I don't really look at that. Like, I'm not going to look back and be like, and he was a four-weight, because I don't really count that. But then again, that was like his 12th fight. So, and Yoet Gonzalez at 12 fights in is a good. So I think he's being matched well, but I do think the level, especially now he doesn't have Ward as a co-manager, they announced, but especially with Ward behind him, a lot of people just assume the Olympics, silver medal, Ward, like they kind of put a lot on his plate, so that may play out too. But you're right. You're right about first of all, Floyd at 130 and 135 actually came forward more, right? So he was at times planting his feet and throwing a hard punch. But
he would have to hit him like four. He would have to hit him a lot.
Right.
Because his feet were so light on the ground. Even at those lightweight classes, he wasn't getting one punch knockouts. He wasn't a Teofimo. He wasn't doing some shit like that. Remember?
You're right. No doubt about that.
Yeah.
But that really doesn't. I don't like to think about that all by itself, because it's like, okay, that's true, but and that's where I'm looking at Stevenson. How many rounds has he lost in his career? Will he be able to defuse someone at a top level and still win? No, he doesn't knock him out, but I liked how he mixed punches. I did take a lot out of it offensively, the way he works the body, the way he, so I think he's a very fluid puncher. I think he's got a lot of skill, but I'm a wait and see type of person. You know what I mean? I don't like to just try to judge him too much in his 15th fight.
Yeah, I agree. And people got to keep in mind too that when you mention 12th, guy just did this in 12 fights, or he was able to accomplish this in the 8th fight. You got to understand, the history of boxing, I'm sorry to break it to everybody, is written not by the fighters, it's written by the promoters. What I mean by that is, the reason why he did that at his 12th fight is because there was a necessity to. His promoters needed someone. They did that because there's no one else to do it for.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, we got
They need to fill in. Hey, we got to keep that belt in the because now that belt's with Navarrete, another top-ranked fighter.
Yeah, and that's the reason why everyone was so shocked with Lomachenko. But if they were listening to what me and you were talking about for years ago, a year and a half ago, I mean, I had mentioned this, and I said this multiple times. I was like, dude, him doing this shit in 2-3 fights, it didn't mean shit. It was either because you forced him into it or because Top Rank didn't have a choice. They had no one else to put on a pedestal. Like, they had to. They needed that business-wise to put someone there. It doesn't mean he's accomplishing anything great or spectacular. You don't know that. It's just because he fucking – look at Kelly Pavlik. The guy had, like, before you even saw him on HBO, he was, like, 35, and he had, like, 35 knockouts, 37 fights, 35 knockouts. Like,
right.
He was, like, one of the – before we even saw him. Why? Because boxing was at a different period. The weight class at a different period. So, like, that's what people got to understand. Like, pay attention to the whole picture. Yeah, man. Before I get into the Canelo shit, it's just the zone thing. Real quick. I mean, it's just I think it's a good idea, the $70 thing. But don't they see? I wish we could see the rate of attrition, or in other words, like the amount of people that fell off of ESPN Plus, because that model seems to be the best. To keep pay-per-view, but, you know, bring the price down to like $40, $50 and charge $5-6 a month. No one's going to cancel that shit. You know, they'll just throw on pay-per-view every 3 months. I don't know why that model, why they haven't considered that. The $70 is okay. Do you know if they still, after you pay $70, you get 4 months. What if you don't cancel? Does it continue to bill you?
That I don't know. They just, all I know is, because it literally just got announced today, so they says they give you a code, and then when you go to DAZN, I guess you put the code in there to sign up. But yeah, I'm assuming that you're going to have to put your credit card information there, of course, and, you know, so I'm assuming you'd have to cancel it, but that I don't know. But I'm assuming you'd have to cancel it otherwise. Yeah, then do they get you for another 70 then? Yeah, that's, I'm sure. A lot of these, you know, a lot of these.
Because don't you like the ESPN Plus model so much better? Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, though, the ESPN model has so much other stuff
more
on it, and it's Disney, you know, and it's packaged with Disney, and that's free. You know, you can get Hulu, Disney, and ESPN Plus.
Yeah.
So I mean,
but
it makes a lot more sense when you have that backing, you know.
To that point, to what you just said, yeah, it has all that. So why wouldn't they charge more? Why wouldn't they charge $12 or $15 for the ESPN Plus? They don't. They charge $5.99. They, you know, because that's such a not good price. When I said I wasn't, I didn't even know I was still signed up to ESPN Plus. So many people don't. That's why I'd love to know what their attrition, the amount of people dropped off during the pandemic, and that would prove a whole lot, because if they only lost like 40% of their people. And it's like, oh, shit, fucking use that and just charge half for pay-per-view. You know, $50 for the pay-per-view. Pay-per-view is going to come down anyway. There's no more, you know.
But the thing is, dude, they're already like okay with the first couple of years of loss, though, too, you know. So, and when you have Disney backing you, it's a little bit easier to take that L for a while. I don't know. It's kind of like the pay-per-view model with UFC. Well, they pay the UFC money because they know the pay-per-view numbers are technically going to go down if you can only go there to get it. So they made up for that, and they're literally paying it.
Didn't they do like 1 million? They did like 1 million pay-per-view buys on one thing, right? Like they're still making money. It's like another, like that's a whole other revenue stream. Just, you know what I mean, on pay-per-views. Like, I don't see why.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Like,
I just don't think they were in the same boat. Is my whole point. You know, they don't have as much content, and they're not the same boat. You know.
Yeah, and even though they're throwing around $1 billion apparently, and I get on. I guess they're not
yeah.
the same.
So, I mean, they said that based off the money they told us to have, they are in the same boat in a sense like that. You're right, but and I guess they weren't willing to lose a lot of money. Other people have been, So I don't know. It's kind of funky, but I do like the idea, and it is getting people 55 million homes of what they're normally used to doing,
Yeah, I'll just make sure people read between the fine print. You don't know what happens if you don't pay attention to your credit card after that 120 days. Because that's a good amount of time for you to forget about a $9.99 or whatever is going to hit you after that. So who knows with that one? But yeah, man, and fuck, man. Yeah, it's this weekend. It's like, yeah, Canelo, and funny how when he leaves the zone, he's talking to Al Hayen, and then the rumors come out that he's in talks with Caleb Plant. I was like, get the fuck out of here. Everyone knows. I mean, I know he's not that stupid. I know his trainers aren't that dumb. If you fight Caleb Plant, you're a retard for doing whatever you just did, because that's not you got a 45%, maybe 50% chance of beating Caleb Plant, not even. You know what I mean? So why would you do that and fuck everything up? I knew that was bullshit. So that was just
especially the turnaround too. Like, so in 6 months they're going to sell a pay-per-view after Tyson, after
Yeah, it was like 4 weeks. It was like 4 weeks. Yeah, 6 weeks. Yeah. So, but but it was good. At least it got Caleb Plant's name out there. It'll shock me if they actually do fight him. It's because that's a bad fight for him. It's just as bad as Billy Joe Saunders, maybe even worse. He is the best in the division. People will notice it sooner or later. He is the most dangerous dude in the division. So like I said, I knew that they were going to fight the easiest fight, which is Callum Smith. And what's going to happen? We already know what's going to happen. Stoppage. He's going to get knocked out. We don't know. I mean, I think for knockout right now, by stoppage, knockout, or DQ, I think it's only minus 115. People might think that's crazy, but again, if you were listening to this podcast, if you were lucky enough to, I told you a year ago that Callum Smith wasn't shit. He was never shit. He was the last brother that they're like, oh, sure, we can make some money off this fucking guy. Throw him in some shit, and he couldn't even beat John Ryder. Okay, so like, what the fuck?
I mean, a lot of people didn't think he beat John Ryder. Yeah.
And when a lot of, and you got people like Chris Mannix sitting there even before that fight, and who knows how many different people said that he's the best at 168. Based off what? Based off George Groves taking a fucking dive against him? Shit. I mean, fuck. I think, I pointed that out a couple of years ago, too. I was like, wow,
and he was also coming off an injury where he didn't even look himself in that fight anyway. Because remember, they kept having to postpone it? He looked a shell of himself regardless. So I don't really look into that big picture.
Yeah, but that's what let's face it, that's what everything is based off of, right? If you didn't beat him, why are we even talking about?
And why was he number one, Billy? Because he beat. He was number one. Why was George Groves number one? He got knocked out by Froch twice, and Badu Jack beat him too. So for him to even be number one, that always kind of made me go,
Yeah, forcing shit into existence, and the whole question is he going to get stopped? And yes, I do believe he's going to get stopped. My prediction will be wrong if Canelo only wins by decision. That's how I'm not like Teddy Atlas. I don't sit here and say, oh, even though I said he was going to win, I said knockout, but he still won. So I mean, that's what.
Right.
No. If Canelo beats him by decision, I consider my prediction fucking wrong. Okay, that's the difference. Okay. Like he's gonna beat him. I don't know when. When it gets That's this weekend? I thought it's the weekend after, right? Or is it this weekend?
It's this weekend.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
You don't know what the over-under is, huh? Over-under, I don't know. I just know that he's plus something ridiculous. I think he's plus, let me see. Could be plus.
I don't know what the over-under is, but I'm calling for a TKO.
Oh, you are too? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right. I mean, that's
but I haven't looked
which
at that
people
yet.
would think is crazy. And when that does happen, hey man, Canelo, if that fake ass bullshit out or that phantom ass fucking Colbert show fight that you put on, if that was really real and you knock out when you knock out this next clown that you're fighting, this fucking scam of a fight that they're putting on, why aren't you gonna fight Beterbiev? Why not? Why wouldn't you fight Beterbiev, buddy? Like, you know, like, I mean, there should be a betting line for that. Is Canelo going to actually fight Beterbiev? Like, like before anytime before Beterbiev loses, would that ever fucking happen? Never, not in a million fucking years. Why? Because then people would find out what would really happen if Canelo went against an actual fucking light heavyweight, not some fake shit. Not the fake shit. Yeah, I predict knockout on that one. Fuck, I don't know what the odds are for that, but I don't know. MGM Bet is a good app for that shit. And have you been mentioning? I haven't been able. One more thing about this Crawford shit. All right, I don't know what your stance is on all of this shit, or if you have to fucking play the whole political bullshit or whatever. Like, but. Crawford.
You could just tell me your stance. I don't play politics. I don't play politics, so you could tell me your stance. Let it all out.
All right. Well, it's fucking Crawford is all right. He already proved what his true colors. He's wondering why people are fucking booing him because we know what the fuck his true colors are. Okay, when you compare him, and I'm not talking about who's gonna win or lose. Okay, like I don't get predictions. I don't have a track record of all these years of a certain amount of success rate on my predictions because I give a shit about the fighter emotionally or not, or I like a fighter or not. When I tell you Andre's gonna beat Charlo, it's because he's gonna beat fucking Charlo. It doesn't have anything to do with me liking the fucking dude. Crawford, when you compare him talking about the fight to Spence. Think about how they answer. Think about like what the stuff that Spence talks about as far as what Crawford talks about. What does Spence talk about? Spence talks about the future. He looks past. He's like, oh yeah, that'll be a good fight against Crawford and stuff. Canelo. He talks about Canelo. He talks about moving up. Talks, you know what he could do at 60. Why? Because. To him, the Crawford fight isn't the be-all, end-all. It's not like, oh, shit, that's it. Oh, man. Oh, fuck, that's my life right there. That's the Mayweather Pacquiao for me. No. He's a real fighter. He's a true fighter. He's a true champion. He looked past that, like how Floyd looked past shit. Floyd didn't just look at the fucking Gotti fight. It was like, oh, fuck, get a pay-per-view fight. Holy shit, I'm going to get $10 million there. That's it. He didn't look at the fucking Oscar fight like that. Like that was a be-all, end-all. Fucking Crawford looks at fucking the Spence fight like I gotta get $10 million. I need it. This is it. That's the end of my career. Why? Because he doesn't believe in himself. That's it for him. I mean, if that's not a form of like him losing, that doesn't show you what kind of confidence he has. If he really was as great as he really believed he was, like if you really believe that shit. Like, he would be looking towards the future. He'd be like, man, I'm going to unify the belts at 47. Then I'm gonna unify it at 54. I'm going to do shit that no one has ever fucking done before. And fuck, it would be great to get a Canelo fight. You never, ever, ever once heard this fucking guy say that. In fact, you hear the opposite. You hear him saying some crazy shit like I need 50-50 and all this other ridiculous shit, even though you can't even sell fucking 200,000 pay-per-view buys. get the fuck out of
here.
here.
Yeah, he says 60-40, or he says, I don't need the fight, they need me. It's like, whoa, hold on now.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Exactly. It's like, calm down, buddy. Based off what? Wait, what are you basing on? Because I'm the best. Best how? What are you talking about? Because of the eye test? Oh, no, I'm number one pound for pound. You're number one pound for pound because you're signed the top rank, buddy. Last time I checked, fucking Lomachenko was pound for pound number one. Why? Because you signed the top rank. Okay, that's the reason why people. Okay, if Errol Spence was signed the top rank from the beginning of his fucking career, what the fuck do you think he would be to us, right? To the general fucking boxing public, but he would be the greatest fucking. He'd be some Marvin Hagler fucking, like, you know, some historical shit. This guy's knocking fucking people
they had
out.
Broner.
Why?
When Broner was with Golden Boy, the Ring magazine had him 5th in the pound for pound when Broner was there. So that kind of plays
exactly. And then, exactly, and people don't think that it's a little weird how all the top pound for pound dudes, you know, the past few years have always been top ranked fighters. I mean, what the fuck? Like, I mean, Lomachenko got up there with 4 fights. Come on, like, you know, it's that doesn't. I mean, just do the math and pay attention to the marketing. I mean, it's just that pisses me off about Crawford, and people got to understand that. I mean, yeah, he's a good fighter, he's a great fighter, and all that shit. But hey, buddy, you would not be pound for pound number one if you weren't signed to top rank. Okay, buddy, like that's it. I don't knock what he did. I'm not hating on him. A lot of people sit there and say, hey, well, he signed the top rank 2 years ago. He ducked. No, I get what he's doing. He's smart. He's sweet. He's saying, let me collect all the top rank money, and then I'll go over to Al Heyman, and then I'll get the show started.
And he did.
That's what he's doing.
His minimum is $4 or $5 million, dude. I mean, that's good-ass money as long as he does follow up with, you know, clearing out some of that other side of the division, which I think he actually will try to do. Like you said, I think he will go to Heyman next. And then you got to look at him and say, that was a smart-ass move, you know, money-wise.
Yeah,
I think it was really
and would he ever – and you were the first person to point this out, Chris. Like, would he have ever with his resume, would he ever be pound for pound number one on anybody's fucking list? And I'll give it like, oh, eye test. What the fuck? No, he would never be number one. Let's be realistic, guys. Pay attention. With that resume, for
and I was saying the same thing about Golovkin at the time too. I mean, this is how, you know, this is the mentality that is just there. You know, I agree. I mean, you know, eye test only gets you so far, and I know he did it at different divisions. That's awesome, but you know, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. You know. It is what it is. We'll see what is next. Because it's October 21st, October 2021 that his contract's up. So we'll see if he takes one more fight and then goes over as a free agent and kind of does what Mikey did maybe and just sign fight by fight or sign a couple of fights and that's it.
50-50. Stop asking for 50-50. Fucking look beyond that. You're bigger than the Spence. I thought you were going to beat Spence. You're bigger than that, so your money comes after that. What the fuck?
It'll be
Obviously,
interesting.
you don't believe
It'll
that.
be interesting. We will see. We shall see. Anything else, sir?
It's no. I appreciate it, and when the time arises, I will call back in a bit and let them know what time it is.
Nice. Well, thanks for calling in. Thanks for surprising me. That was dope. All right, man. Take it easy.
Peace, man.
Yep. All right, 310 Mark had some things to say, and he got it off his chest. Right? That was a good call, per usual. And I got to say, and I'm about to go to Carcino in just a second. It was hard to give a round to the opponent of Shakur Stevens. And I don't like to judge guys too early. I thought he got judged way too early. Remember him and Conlon, right? Him and Michael Conlon. Like, Conlon knocked a couple guys out early, so they're like, oh, dude, Conlon's got that knockout power after, like, 3 or 4 fights, they were saying. Shakur's got this amateur stuff. It's not going to work. And then all of a sudden, a couple years later, the guy who looks like he has a more pro style is clearly Stevenson. Now, he may never be a knockout puncher. He's, 21 going on 22, something like that. He does look like he's coming into his body. You get that man strength once you get to the mid-20s, like they say. You know, like I like what he did offensively. You know, I mean, even a jab had the dude stumbling. But I liked the left hand to the body. I like how he mixed it up. I like how he went to the uppercut off of that. His combinations had a steady, like real stiff jab. He just basically dominated. He was in control the whole time. And, you know, hit but don't get hit is kind of what he kind of did a little bit later. Stevenson was talking a little bit, I think, about holding to Kenny Bayless. The mic picked that up. But even like, I mean, he really started working the body after 5 rounds. He had landed 31 body punches. So I like Shakur a lot, but I do this with everyone. I just wait and see, dude. I wait and see, you know. I think he's got Frampton or Herring, the winner of that, coming up. And then hopefully the winner, well, I suppose even, I guess it would kind of matter because sometimes injuries or whatever, but the winner of Burchell and Valdez, which actually has a date that we'll talk about. So if he could get those 2 fights in 2021, then we can really start to judge him fully because he was only 15 fights in. I thought he looked really good. I just can't get too down on fighters that don't lose rounds. I think people forget about that. But you also don't want to go over the top either, like I mentioned, be like, oh, dude, like Kevin Iole, putting him in the top 10 pound for pound. No, I don't want that. I don't think that. Berlanga almost went the second round, but he TKO'd the dude with like 18 seconds left. He was landing heavy shots. Berlanga was. I'll tell you what, that dude Sierra actually landed a decent early shots in exchanges. He actually did land some good hooks in exchanges, but it was like 3 straight right hands, knocked down, right hands and left hooks for the second one. Dude was kind of getting held up by the rope, and so it was over. I'll get into the Felix Verdejo Nakatani fight and some other action. Chris Colbert looked good as well on Showtime. And, of course, we'll get to this weekend. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Carcino to the fold. What's going on, Carcino? How the hell are you, man?
I'm hanging in there, just super busy.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out, man. As always, I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
A big old contract got signed in the NBA. Man, Giannis said, I'm actually staying. I think I will stay for that kind of big-ass money.
Yeah, and I've been telling people for an entire year that this was a fraud and he was staying. So now I'm glad I'm finally vindicated today when he actually signed. Because the thing is the NBA, they're so full of it. They create these stories. They could have people talking about it on their shows and market the league. Milwaukee already stated that they were going to offer Giannis the Supermax, and he was staying. They said this a year ago, before this even came around. They were like, oh, we're not going to have a problem with Giannis. But they've already spoken with him, and as long as they do what they promised and said that they were going to do, he's not going anywhere. He likes it there. So the NBA fined the Milwaukee Bucks for putting that statement out. That's what that is. He fined. So when they went as far as to do that, it became an even bigger problem. And the reason why...
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. No, some on my screen jumped. Yeah, and the reason why that became a bigger problem is because they were like, no, we got to build this thing. Like, he could go to Miami, he can go to the Lakers. They got to promote all of this to try to build tension. Where would Giannis go and all this? They know he ain't leaving. He's from a different, in Greece, it's a different mentality. People here in the United States, if they don't know anybody from abroad or never traveled abroad, it's hard for them to grasp that people have different concepts around than what you do. Everybody here, they see everyone, well, if it works for them, they did it, I could do it too. And everyone just says, hey, I'm going to do what everybody else is doing. They don't do that everywhere else. To them, it's kind of like imitation. They don't like that. They like to be like true. If someone's being honorable to them and they gave them this opportunity, they feel indebted. Like this person is doing everything they said they were going to do. I would feel bad if I was to leave and go do something else,
right,
or go play with someone else. To them, it's
and
like
a lot of
dishonorable.
people skipped him in the draft too. If you think about it, a lot of people did skip him in the draft. So he's like, hey man, you guys took me, and I could have fallen even further.
Yeah, and they took a chance on him, and him and his family, they're all grateful because of it. Because of that, Giannis was able to become a success and actually recruit his family members, like his brothers and all of them. That they probably would have never been drafted if it wasn't for the success of Giannis. So now they have, their family members making good money, and they come from Greece, and it's different over there. So it's a level of respect. So for them to stay there when, Milwaukee has been honorable, this was key for them. Like, okay, we're going to stay where we feel like we're loved and appreciated. Plus, he wants to win his own championship with him being the centerpiece. Why would he go play with LeBron or anything?
Well,
No,
Miami was the one that was probably going to be have the money to get him. The Heat.
They would have the money to get Giannis, but Giannis wouldn't be. He wouldn't have control. Pat Riley would have control, and it would be Pat's decision on what's going to happen. Plus, they would have to give up Bam or somebody else of interest. Like, I would trade Bam away for Giannis at this point, because you never know how Giannis' style is going to fit with Miami. So I don't think that's a good enough fit. And the thing that's kicking me off right now, say one thing.
Yes, sir.
This is the part that's kicking me off now. Right now, trending is his brother Costa, who plays with the Lakers. They're mad, and all the Laker fans want him to be cut and traded because Giannis didn't sign and go play with the Lakers. They want Giannis' brother to be cut because he failed to recruit Giannis to the Lakers. Oh, my God. I'm done with social media, man. I can't deal with it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that doesn't even line up either. Like, what? That's like the last place I thought he'd go anyway. But yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Exactly.
So anyway, that's funny. And that's total social media Twitter type.
Trending
thing,
right now. Trending right now. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's crazy. That is crazy. Speaking of trending, actually, Canelo's trending too. Wow. I'm just checking it right now. So we had some fights over the weekend. Joshua scored a knockout. Now everybody's talking about Joshua Fury. Shakur Stevenson was in action. Chris Colbert was in action. Nakatani came back off the mat twice, I think it was, to knock out Verdejo. They were trying to set up Verdejo against. Right, that was the fight of the weekend. On paper, it looked like that, and it turned out to be that way.
Yep. And I was impressed in that fight with, oh my gosh, with getting knocked down twice. Yeah, Nakatari. And when he knocked him out, knocked him down twice, I said, oh, wow, this is a shot. Like, I never saw that happen in the fight, like the early knockdown. So Felix did a good job, using his boxing when he got hurt. And, he was hurt early. Like, after that, the very next round, the fourth round, was like a right hand. And Verdejo, whatever, he was hurt. He was hurt. And I said, man, he got hurt with that right hand, and he still boxed, and he kept his poise, but he was disturbed. He was completely disturbed. That right hand kept bothering him. And then he threw, man, the
his legs looked like it was a wrap, dude. His legs looked like it was a wrap.
Everything he was throwing was hard. Like, the jab was hard. Everything he was throwing was hard. And he threw like a hook and a jab with the left. Nicotar and hit Felix Vidal, because Felix was just thinking offensive. When he should have just pivoted, turn, you got to tie him up, go to the guy's body. And he was doing, even though he lost, this is probably the best fight he's been in his career. And I said, man, he was doing a lot of things correct in this fight. And I'm like, man, he's going back downstairs to the body. And I'm like, he's going back up top. He got hurt. He's not discouraged. It's just that he should learn how to tie up. And I think some of the young fighters, that's what they lack, is the ability of knowing how to tie up and the importance of tying people up. That's not taught in today's game. People think you tie somebody up, you being a punk, or you make it look like you hurt or you lose. No, tying people up stops momentum. You stop, and, they whole little thing they got going, you slow the fight down to your pace. You get to take a breath, tie them up. Take a breath, and your opponent, sometimes they might not know how to breathe in the ring. Knowing when to take breath, how to take breath. Floyd is a master of breath control. So he knows how to take a deep breath and get back in it and try to keep his heart rate low or at the same pace. Don't let it get too high when you're throwing high punches. Keep yourself calm and relaxed. So the breathing aspect is how Floyd also maintains his condition throughout fight, and he likes to breathe and to clench. So when he grabbed you, he would take like a deep breath, which you call it a clench. And where he's in a position where the ref's coming in, he's not going to be hit, so he'll normally take a deep breath then and get back to the action. Meanwhile, you're probably still breathing the same way and don't know what or how or what's going on or what he's doing. But it's a part of his breath control process. But it helped keep his energy level normal. But I saw Felix Vidal just trying to get through the fight and get to the cards. Because they showed the cards. He was winning on the cards.
Yeah, all three of them.
All he had to do was survive. And I'm like, could he survive? Because he was getting hit with some bombs. That right hand was coming in like a hook. He was swinging. He was putting everything in those punches, man. And they was just that dude is strong. He is strong. His jab hurt. The last jab he put him on the canvas. The punch that put him down was the punch he didn't see. It was a jab. It was a hard jab. It looked like it was coming in like a hook, but it was a jab. Ooh. Oh my! Straight punch down the line. And Felix Vidal, he was trying to land his own jab. And instead of tying up, trying to give yourself some time. And, he was disturbed since the fourth round and really, tried to follow survival mode. But, what's his name, Najari, he got to give that guy credit, man. That was fight of the night. I mean, he just dogged it. He just wanted to fight. More than anybody. I have to give him credit for that. He wanted that moment.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. He did. I mean, from the fifth round on, to get on the ground twice, like you said, it was a short right hand with 80 seconds into the round, and a huge right hand that started things out, pretty early, 70 seconds into the damn fight. It was like, whoa. But after that fourth round, though, dude, Nakatani basically won every round. In that eighth round, Nakatani got off to a good start. Then it looked like he buzzed Verdejo, but then it looked like Verdejo had stumbled Nakatani a little bit, back and forth in the ninth round. Yeah. And then, like you said, I mean, he hurt him bad at that point. And you're right, it wasn't jab right hand, but the jab did more damage. And I think Ward even said that in both of those knockdowns. So that was pretty freaking wild, no doubt about it, man. What'd you think of Shakur Stevenson in the main event?
The main event was very interesting because Cleary at one point was the number one prospect. 2 years ago, Cleary was the guy. He was 19-0, and everybody was like, man, this dude is something else. He's gonna be incredible. Then he got knocked out in the first round, cold. and that stopped everything. And like his whole career had changed. Lost the tough division. He just won 3 fights in a row, but he's never really been in there with another dog. And you know, he can't fight going back. He fights pretty reserved. When you get knocked out cold like that, I think it does something to your psyche. And for him, he kind of went into just, I'm going to retreat and box and flick a jab and try to outpoint you. And in the first round, he got caught with a left hand in a clinch. It was a combination being thrown in the clinch that he thought he was done punching, Shakir was, and he swept the left hook across and caught him in the first round, and he pulled back and stumbled. I'm like, oh, wow. And from that point on, he just wanted to survive. Cleary gave up the fight, basically, backed up, tried to jab, move around, and that's not his fight style. He cannot fight going back. And Shakir just brought the pressure, kept him coming forward, bringing the pressure, and I think he is much comfortable at this weight than he was at the lower weight. I think he you know, his body changing and growing, it's going to be harder for him to cut, go down the weight. So him being here, he's filled out at the weight class. And he's got skills. I mean, he's green in a lot of areas. This is how you develop fighters. You know, fight like this, he can learn from and, you know, how to apply the pressure. He needs to cut the ring off better. But he had a guy that wasn't willing to really sit down and engage with it. After the first round, you know, that was pretty much over with. And it made for a one-sided fight, but you get to see a learning process. And then Andre Ward and Timothy Bradley, they stole the show with the commentary because Ward is about had it with Bradley. And I'm like, why is Bradley acting like he was master boxer? Blowing my mind right now. I'm like, Timothy Bradley act like he was like flipping and avoiding all these shots. And I'm like, that was never your style. You were like the garbage pail fighter, you know, like we're going to just.
Or even really knocking people out. You know, he wasn't knocking people out either, you know? So.
No, because he wasn't even throwing punches correctly. He was an arm puncher. And I'm like, you're not even getting your legs into the punches. You was like, my will to beat you is he was another version of Sean Porter. That's what he was, just a smaller Sean Porter. And he would bite down and start swinging. That was his style. I'm like, Provodnikov really had you beat, and you just outwilled him in the fight, you know, because you were rocked and dazed, about to go to sleep. And I'm like, I cannot believe Timothy Bradley is saying these things. And Andre Ward is like, man,
I mean,
you
there's
are
so
a
many.
negative.
Right.
Yeah, you are a negative Nancy. I mean,
he's like, what you mean negative Nancy? I'm like, dude, like, and then he's trying to just holler at the ref to get the fight stopped. It's like, dude, the dude's not even hurt. Like, now you're going to just take away, like, I don't know. And then he brings up brain bleed. It's like, really? This is the fight you're going to bring up brain bleed in? Like, it's like, why are you bringing up a brain bleed in this fight, dude? No one's even been knocked down yet. Like, and he's like, yeah, but then you get the brain bleed if you don't stop these fights. It's like, well, I mean, I hear what he's saying, and there are some times where you don't get knocked out cold and you take a beating, but was he really taking just the most vicious beating you've ever seen? I mean, I don't know. Bradley, I actually liked watching Bradley fight, but I really dislike him as a broadcaster. It's just too much, man. It's just too much. You're right. They basically took over the network, but Shakur, the good thing is he does have a lot of people at 130 on his side of the street in his top ranked stable that should allow him to have some good fights for the next year or two at least. With the names that they have. So I think that is a really good thing for him as well. Chris Colbert actually had an impressive performance on Showtime. He looked really good for like the first 5-6 rounds. Then it got to a two-way fight, and I thought this was a good part of the fight, because he only has like 14 fights going in too, and Arboleda did give him a lot to think about down the stretch of the fight. That made it a little bit more interesting before the TKO.
Yeah, it did. And, Stephen A. Smith got in and started comparing Kobe to Mayweather, and I was like, whoa, we are really going too far right now. But, no, it was a great fight, I thought. I enjoyed it. It was guys going back and forth before, but I could tell the way it was going, the style that Kobe's gonna win. But he gave him a lot of things to think about, and when you're young, you need that experience, so that when you face different styles of people who are, have some tricks to the trade, you know how to adjust to it, so that when you get in the ring, with some other guys who might be a little bit more skilled, you're not surprised with anything when you get to the higher level. And that's the part that I think is missing in today's boxing, is the actual development. These guys are internet famous, and they want to be internet famous so bad that they're running their mouth, yeah, man, I'm doing this, man, I'm the man now, and they got to see
Everybody's ducking me. The whole sport's ducking me. It's like, dog, you just got into a position where you can get a good fight.
Right, and I'm like, dude, you got like 2 fights. Who's ducking you? And they want the champion after one fight calling him out, and
it's like, dog, he's fighting the top guy in the division. He's ducking you though.
Right, and then you don't get a chance to develop a talented fighter, and then you can have a situation like people like to bring up the Fernando Vargas situation, throwing them in fights before they're ready, and and as great as Vargas was, he was just thrown to the fire because they needed a money maker, and he was making money and bringing in revenue. So they put him in the Trinidad fight, and I think he was too young for that fight. And it was an action-packed fight. He pushed Trinidad to the limit.
Hell yeah.
And Trinidad stopped him in the 12th. And from that point, though, it ruined Vargas. Self-doubt for the first time in his mind crept in, like he blew up in weight. He barely won he got knocked down again in his very next fight. And even then, that was the tune-up fight. And he came back and won that fight, but he definitely wanted the same. And Oscar wanted to fight him immediately after he saw how damaged Vargas was. He's like, oh, I can make a fight with this now. I can get this done. So he postponed that fight twice just so he can get in shape, and created a fake injury so he can postpone it so Vargas can overtrain for the fight. But still, Vargas' career was never the same after that because the main events rushed him into fight after fight after fight because they were losing their stable at the time. So he was the money. He ended up being their breadwinner and all the things that was going on with them. So,
but it was a good fight, though. Arboleda definitely the last. If you look at the 6th, the 7th was close. I gave Arboleda the 6th. 7th was either round. Maybe you could have said Colbert, had the better shot.
I gave him the 6th.
The chopping left hand started finding home.
Oh yeah, the chopping right hand was working, and that's what ended up being what sealed the deal. He kept saying, okay, here it comes, like an axe chop, swinging that from way out and getting caught because he kept pulling straight back. When you pull straight back, that chopping right hand is going to find a way home. You're not going to use your footwork to step around or step away or step to your right. That chopping right hand is going to land. And I'm like, why does he keep pulling straight back? And it was costing him. So, yeah, that fight was interesting. I mean, I don't know what Stephen A. Smith was talking about, but
that's not even on the planet of fucking even worth like tweeting about. Like it was like, what are you talking about? Like, why now you're gonna put so now this kid's got to live up to Mayweather? Like, what do you? He just had a good fight, dude. He's 15 fights in. Like, let the kid breathe, dude. But he did look really good. What'd you think of Anthony Joshua's knockout? And then, are we going to see this Fury Joshua fight, in May? Because remember, Eddie Hearn in the summer was talking about we got a 2-fight deal. It's already done,
Well, it's agreed upon in principle. They got to put the pen, the ink, and everybody's got to sign now. But they agreed upon it in principle because I talked to Bob Arum long ago, and he was like, yeah, you just have to get by this fight, and they're supposed to have a 2-fight deal in place with, with whoever, no matter who wins or loses, it's a rematch on each side. Each side can exercise a rematch, and then they have like 30 days or to, agree to do the rematch. So both sides are looking like they're willing to go forward with that, in that plan, just like the Wilder and Fury. So it's the same process in place. So they've already agreed to that. Both sides have, and right now Wilder's still trying to fight that in court to get it stopped. But I don't think he's going to be able to stop that. There's too much money involved, and plus, it's like, look, hey, the guy agreed to do the fight with you for the third fight. It didn't work out, so that's just that. But as breaking down the fight, I thought AJ was a little tentative at first, as well as he should be. His footwork is still terrible. It's good for a heavyweight for who he's fighting, but if he's fighting Tyson Fury, he's going to be in trouble. I just think that he telegraphed a lot of his punches. He set up the right hand very well. He knows how to do a 1-2 right hand. His 1-2 right hand is like, it's really good. It's like, because it surprises you because his jab isn't what it should be. It's more like a pushing jab. Sometimes it's thrown, but his intentions is just to land that big right hand. So when he throws it, throws that jab out, that right hand comes like a whip. And that's like really his best punch is his right hand. His jab is not, to me, it's not really developed or educated right, but that right hand of his is that's his weapon. So when he goes close and providing that, Pulev would put his high guard up and put his chin right in the way of those uppercuts. And this fight should have never even taken place. Pulev is done. He scored that miracle knockout, and that was great for him. But this fight here, this fight was done in 3 rounds. It could have been called right in the third.
Right when he turned his back, it should have been called.
Yeah, that's what I thought. The ref's going to wave it off. But when you got the over-under 6.5, everybody
right,
bet,
like Mark 3-0 was talking about.
Yeah, 3-0 was like, yeah, that's 6.5, man. That's something. All them people bet like this fight ain't going past 6th round, and all that money was on the line. They would have had to pay that out. Oh no, he's gonna have to continue. But
better turn your back around.
Yeah, he got back up, got dropped in the 7th. He got him right back up, dropped him again in 8. Got him. I'm like, look, man, stop this fight. He's not close to landing that lucky punch. I know somebody who bet on Pulev was like, he still can do it.
Right.
I got to question if AJ carried him. Because in rounds 4 and 5, I'm like, wait a minute. This guy's getting back in the fight. Wow.
Yeah, there was no follow-up. Yeah, you're right. There was all of a sudden like, now, wait a second. He actually won he was competitive, but then he may have won the 6th round, You're like, wait, what's going on?
Yep. And I'm like, oh, wow. And after the 6th, it was like, okay, you can take him out now. I'm like, Eddie Hearn out there told him, no, yeah. No.
So what was up? What was up with he knocks him out, he jumps out of the ring, Carcino, just to go up and dap and talk to Floyd and then jump back up. What was that all about? Because that was a little funky. That was a little he's never done that ever. It's just kind of he's never left the ring to go say hi to his mom or anything. I mean, is Floyd involved with this? Are we sure we got a 2-fight deal, or is Floyd coming up, through the back door or something? I mean, what was that all about?
That's his buddy, because he's put his alignment with him over Wilder. Like Wilder and Floyd don't really see eye to eye. So,
right.
This is how Floyd, operates. So when you see this happen, you go, oh, okay, there it is. So they wanted Floyd out there to get some publicity, and they got it.
Right.
So they went and highlighted that Floyd was there by him jumping out, acknowledging him. People start flashing cameras.
Right.
Yeah, he was just glad Floyd came out to the fight. But I'm like, Floyd loves that because Floyd is getting ready to fight again.
Right.
You guys had the information first. They ain't going to give you credit for it, Chris. But you guys had it first. But the fight was supposed to be on New Year's. But he changed it because of COVID. Because New Year's, everybody's going to be closed down. They don't want like a big gathering, of people. So now it's February the 20th against Logan Paul. And people believe Logan Paul can do it because of his size. They're like, look what Conor did to him. Logan Paul is bigger. I'm like, okay. Let's bet.
Is there bench press involved in this fight to win or something? Like, he's bigger. Okay. What else? Are they having a bench off? Are they going to squat so you can squat more?
Man, this whole thing is so bizarre. It just don't even make sense, man. Some of the stuff that people say and they come out of their mouths, they really believe it. Like, they are really sucked in. So people are like, I am not paying for this fight. Yeah, you are. Wait till it gets close to February the 20th. There's no sports on, and this event is coming up. You're going to pay. And I'm like, these internet people, they're going to be all subjected to watch it, because that's what they want to do. They just want to watch it. They're like, I just want to see it. So, but the thing about this is that you're losing about almost 12 to 18% of your revenue, if not more, to illegal streaming. Far more than pay-per-view. When they had pay-per-view, you was at least getting your money via pay-per-view. You had that pay-per-view revenue, and it was like Garen Freeman the fight. It's a little bit different. Like, the protections are not as in place as it is for a pay-per-view event. It's just weird how the process works. It's like someone can hijack a stream that they're doing and put it on the internet, and it shows the clarity and everything is a lot better because the whole event is being streamed now. So they can just hijack it, and it has a higher grade of quality. It's just like you paid for it. More than when you were getting it from like a cable pay-per-view, then they had to hijack that and turn it into an internet feed or whatever technical thing is. But now it's like people, they got so many hot boxes and ways to get all these illegal streams in their home for like $20 and you can get all the channels. I'm like, gee. And he's like, yeah, my buddy's got these hookup with these boxes. You just change the flash card and now you got all the channels on your TV, everything. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And then they said the streaming revenue is not as lucrative as what it used to be for pay-per-view. But then again, everybody's paying pay-per-view every month and don't even know it. When you're buying the Zone, when you're buying all these apps that you used to get for one place, your cable, You used to pay your cable bill, and you used to get it in one place. Now you're getting it from all these other places, and you're still paying for it. You're paying for Showtime and the app, HBO Max. You're paying for ESPN Plus. You're paying for it. And I'm like, Wait a minute. All these people are allocating all this money around and then talking about, I ain't got to pay no $200 cable bill. I'm like, yeah, but you're still paying $200 if you had all this stuff up.
Yeah, right.
But they don't see that, and it's amazing. And it is amazing. And with the marketing the way it is, I just got to applaud everybody because that's really good to be able to fool people like that. And the fact is that this is something that they can't control because they got to go to streaming because that's the new way to get to the public. They have to go stream. It's like, oh, you got to stream this. You know, it's like, hey, it's the new norms, the new reality. Everything's in the cloud.
Speaking of streaming, Canelo Alvarez returns on a streaming service to DAZN against Callum Smith, who's coming off a really close fight with Ryder. A lot of people, especially UK fans, thought he actually lost the fight or it should have been a rematch. What do you think? You think Callum Smith has any chance in this one, or this is just a way to get a fight in at the end of the year, which is something Canelo really thought he wanted to do, and also it works good for them launching DAZN in the UK and other countries, but especially UK because Callum Smith is at least a UK fighter. But do you think he has any shot here against Canelo for the weekend?
He has a shot because he's actually a fighter that uses the jab, uses his height distance. I think Canelo's body attack will bring a new reality to him because he'll have to deal with someone who can actually counter with the speed and have difficult. Where he's going to struggle at Canelo's upper body move. He's not used to somebody who moves like that with their upper body, so evade punches and shots, and with that type of speed that Canelo has, his reaction. And when he explodes to the body, it's going to be a new shocking reality. Then we're going to find out what he's going to do. You know, he might just fold, like get into a defensive stance and fear the punches coming in rather than dishing it back out. But it's because Canelo is a good fighter on your resume. I mean, he's a solid opponent, and I mean, you got to fight in through all of this that's going on right now that's affected the world. You know, so that's another good thing for you. And this whole fight, I think it'll end in about, I'll say 7 rounds. Canelo stops him in 7. I think from body punches. About 7 or 8. So I'll definitely take over the 6, knockout after the 6.5.
There we have it. Any other thing that you want to speak upon, sir? I know you got a busy schedule. Anything else you want to cover, sir?
I do. I think we need to talk about what's going on with the Nonito Donaire situation. That's huge. And it's not really getting the light it deserves, but it's completely huge. So I don't know.
The false positive thing?
Yeah. And the fact is they're trying to, like, keep him from fighting. It is totally the weirdest thing I've seen because he just got another test done on the 12th, and it came back negative. And where they from, Baker State Health, they refused to let him retest for the positive test they got and said he went out, paid, and took 2 more tests within 24 hours, and all the results are negative. 3 tests, 3 negative results, and they still are trying to stop him from fighting. It does not make any sense whatsoever. Why won't they let this guy fight? I'm like, there is something else in the works here. It just does not make any sense.
Yeah, the Baker Street Health refused to retest, and it happened to a couple of people in other sports too, where the false positives still kept them out of the game type thing. So yeah, it's like once you test positive, it seems like it's a wrap regardless right now, especially if it's on the rapid testing, which the rapid testing. Actually, I don't think this is rapid testing because the rapid testing is the most. That has the most false positives. But, yeah, it does suck because he wants to get out. He wants to fight now. His opponent, it's kind of crazy, though, because Angelo Leo was sparring with Nonito, and he got COVID. So now he's off of his fight, too. So, it's kind of all over the place. And maybe that's part of the reason they say, well, a guy came in – reference had COVID, so now even if you aren't doing it was a false positive, we know you were within range sparring and sweating and breathing with someone that had it. So, but yeah, I've seen that. Des Bryant, several people, even Jamal Herring had that where he was like, well, I think it's a false positive. I think I already got it a while back. I don't think I have it now, but it's kind of crazy because his opponent, Ubali, got it first a couple weeks back. They got a replacement, and now this. So it's just a mess. But it does sound like they're trying to make Donaire and Ubali, which was already a fight made, sometime in January, February.
Yeah, because they said 6 weeks you got to, be out. And it just makes no sense whatsoever. Going there from, and go get retested. Now, here's what people don't understand. What I don't understand is what they saying that they can try to make it right by letting them fight. But see, the Baker State Health, they do the testing for the NBA. That's who does the test for the NBA. And their salary, what they make, and all that stuff. And they have yet to put a person up for 6 weeks. But yet they have the ball players say, well, up to 6 weeks. You can't apply 6 weeks to a fighter who then spent money out of his own pocket for a camp. It's like, are you kidding? He done spent money basically for his whole training camp and everything else. And all of a sudden, here we go with this. Oh, my God.
I hadn't heard the 6 weeks was official. I hadn't heard the 6 weeks thing. Because before it was 2 weeks, but I hadn't heard the 6 weeks. But isn't that just to be able to fight back in that area, though, under that commission?
No. When you test positive, you're out 6 weeks. You're out for 6 weeks. That's the protocol that they have for the Bakers. So if you test positive,
just in that thing, because otherwise that hasn't been the case.
You got to be out. Like before they can retest you and say it's negative and everything else. And it was crazy. So I'm just like, I'm blown away by it and not understand it. So
yeah, we'll definitely keep tracking that story.
Yeah, it's good. Like, because I'm like, in boxing, that would destroy any small event. Any small event is destroyed.
In everything, there's never been a 6 week stuff for anything else either. So that's what's so random about this, because we've seen plenty of boxers and other athletes all across a lot of sports test positive for COVID, but did not be out any kind of 6 weeks. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. Anything else?
The NFL, they come back in like no time. They're right in record time in 2 weeks. Oh, the NFL don't care. You're right back out there. 2 weeks? Oh, he's all right. He took some tests after. Yeah, he's good to go. Throw him out there. They don't care.
Yeah, they're not going to lose their TV slots. They're not going to lose any. They're not going to lose a game. Period. Yeah, I mean they had that Baltimore game that got rescheduled for a third time. They're like, nope, we'll do it on a Wednesday. Who cares, you know? But that's a lot easier to do when you're the big rating in town.
All last week, Monday, Tuesday,
yeah, you're right.
Wednesday, Thursday. I'm like, man, this is crazy.
Definitely.
So this was messing up the ratings, though, for television shows.
Oh yeah.
And they were like, hey, our series is being affected by this. You know, like this isn't fair. You know, we didn't set up to go up against, you know, Wednesday night football. This is messing up our lineup. So other shows, networks were complaining. You know, like this is affecting our numbers. You know, like we know it was a one-time event, but you know, this is like we're getting to the end of their suite. You know, like their major setup for their plots of their shows. You know, that could be damaging, very damaging to it. And it damaged a lot of shows' numbers that week by them having Wednesday football at like 3 in the afternoon. People are like, hey, our shows took a hit.
Right.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's all I really had.
I appreciate you calling in, man. You have yourself a good night, buddy. Enjoy the fights this weekend.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Later.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're going to head out to Portland 503. Oh, you know what? Here, let me refresh it. Maybe that's, oh, maybe he hung up. Maybe, I messed up. Maybe I didn't read his text. But just to follow up, and I was actually going to talk about this when we talked about the weekend schedule and whatnot. I hadn't heard about the 6-week thing, and I'm not saying it's not true. I just said I hadn't heard of it, and he hadn't tweeted about it either, whereas he tweeted about a lot of other stuff. His thing was the update is, you know, he just had he had a positive test, then he went and got 2 more over a time period, and you know, he had 2 negatives. So it says, negative to be clear. Baker Street Health refused me a retest for my positive test. I went out and paid and took 2 molecular NAAT tests 24 hours apart, and the rapid, and all 3 came negative. So it's one of those things that it does suck, but I have yet to heard about the 6-week thing, though. And if they could just take that Ubali and Donaire and put it in a different state, and probably be just fine. So I don't know. I've never heard about the 6-week thing, though, and we've had them all summer recently too, and it hasn't been 6 weeks. Usually it's 2 weeks and you shut down. And even didn't the CDC change it to 7 to 10 days now? So I'll follow up on that. Just following up on something, I thought Richardson Hitchens hasn't really looked good as a prospect. You know, this was his 11th or 12th fight, taking on Argenis Mendez, and this was a good fight for him because Mendez is for sure past his prime, but he's still a good gatekeeper. And you know, most of the rounds I had it 7-3 about for Hitchens. Yeah, Richardson Hitchens. A max 6-4. There was a judge that had it 97-93 for Mendez. I don't know what he saw. The power punching was close, 80-60, but overall 117-92. And the jabs 57-12. I thought he used his jab really well. I thought he used his movement, his distance very well. He had a stinging jab, and he'd follow it up with the right hand, sometimes to the body, mostly to the head. Mendez had a good 7th and 9th round when I'm looking at my scorecards. I thought he was a little busier. I thought he maybe landed the better shots. It did seem like there was a body shot that may have bothered Hitchens in the 9th round. But overall, good footwork, hard right hands. I liked what I saw. I hadn't really liked a whole lot of what I saw of Hitchens, I should say. God, I keep getting that Richardson Hitchens. I haven't really totally been that impressed as a prospect, but that's why you wait until the step-up fights. And not to say that this is a step-up fight, meaning he's ready for anybody. But, being your 12th fight, I thought he'd put on his best performance. And just to follow up on the Chris Colbert, I gave the first 5 rounds to him. I thought Arboleda, like I mentioned, those chopping left hands, he was busier. The 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, about 3 out of 4 of those could have went to Arboleda. I mean, he started, there was a lot of back and forth. He was landing good combinations. Maybe the better shots in the 7th was Colbert, but then I liked how Colbert got it back in the 10th round. Hard right hand with 60 seconds left. Great round, back and forth. He actually stole that round, that 10th or that 9th round. I thought he was losing it from combinations and left hooks early, but then he came back, like I said, with that right hand, uppercuts. He stole the round, like I mentioned. I think it was a knockdown left hook and a right hand, like a right cross that knocked him down. Got back up. Hurt him late with the right hand in the 10th, and then a left hook right hand combo knocked him down, hurt him really bad, and another combination knocked him out. So that was really good. Korobov took on Ellis, and he was winning the fight with left hands, go figure, and jab and a left hand counters, but they had to stop the fight because he tore he injured, I think, his Achilles, his left leg. So Korobov's just getting old, and it's starting to really, show up, basically. But yeah, that Nakatani, I mean, the way he changed the fight after being down 2 separate times in the 5th, 6th, 7th, I gave him the rest of the rounds. Good back and forth even in those rounds, but man, he was buzzing Felix with a lot of different shots, left hooks in exchanges. That 8th round was crazy, though, back and forth. One guy buzzed the other guy, and then vice versa. But yeah, man, that knockout punch, that jab, that turned into a hard right hand, that was good. Nakatani definitely had the fighter of the weekend, I guess you could say. As far as this weekend, I do think Canelo beats Callum Smith late TKO. I'm gonna say like 9th, 10th round, 11th round. And as we've mentioned, I mean, there is a fight going on tomorrow. Stenonius is coming back against Gonzalez, and there's some prospect stuff on FS1. NBC Sports Network has a card on Thursday. So, there's some interesting prospect stuff there. We'll take a look at that. Golovkin returns. I do think that Ali Akhmedov is in a good fight with Gongora. I think that might be a pretty good fight for him, good test. That's 168, right? I think that's a 10, maybe a 12 rounder. I can't really remember on that one. Not a whole lot on the undercard to speak of for the DAZN, Callum Smith, Alvarez. Ennis. I almost forgot. Jaron Ennis, it takes on Chris Van Heerden. Where Ennis is, trying to get good fights, trying to face more veterans, and trying to get his name out there. I think it's a good, somewhat late opponent. And then Gary Antonio Russell, the brother of Gary Russell Jr., takes on Juan Carlos Payano in a bantamweight 10-rounder, which I think is a good test for Russell at this point. Brandon Lee and Dakota Linger could be a little interesting as well. And, you could tell these cards the events are now they have way more fights on them now. And so you are starting to see, just in general, more, right? Just more of a lot of this stuff. You're starting to see cards that have 8 fights on them. But you can kind of tell a lot of this stuff, like ThompsonBoxing.com is going to have one December 20th. There's just a lot of people getting fights out. And like I said, the Showtime undercard I like, but the main event got, chewed up, obviously. So yeah, that's basically, and then there's a pay-per-view like a integrated sports pay-per-view on Fight TV and Fight TV. I think it's both. With Gilberto Ramirez taking on Alfonso Lopez on pay-per-view for like $25 or something like that, which is like, I'm good. I don't need to see that. If it gets interesting, well, that's a problem. Oh, Charles Conwell takes on Ashkiev. That I like that fight. Like I said, there's some interesting fights on the undercards. Stephen Shaw and Pinchuk is another one there. But yeah, Charles Conwell, 154-pounder. You know, people have been talking about him, so this is a good look for him. That's on that Ring USA. What is it? Ring TV USA, NBC Sports Network. So that's the schedule. Like I said, not jam-packed, but you know, what are you gonna do? There was some Hall of Fame stuff. Mayweather, Klitschko, and Andre Ward made it, to the International Boxing Hall of Fame, along with some other folks too. We'll get into that at some point. I'm not a huge fan of not waiting 5 years like it normally was. Just not a big fan of that per se. But you know, it is what it is. Oh, so Jake Paul had some stuff to say about McGregor. I'll give you guys this in the back end of the show. Here's his message.
Good morning, Conor McGregor. I know you're probably beating up old dudes in a bar right now, or maybe you're jacking off because you're sick of fucking your wife. I mean, she's a 4, Conor. You could do a lot better, but happy Monday. My team sent you a $50 million offer this morning. $50 million cash, proof of funds, the biggest fight offer you've ever been offered, but you're scared to fight me, Conor. You're ducking me because you don't want to lose to a fucking YouTuber. You're 0-1 as a boxer. I'm 2-0 as a boxer. I just came off the 8th biggest pay-per-view event in history, but you want to fight Dustin Prover, who has less followers on Instagram than my fucking dog. That's a fact. And Dana White, you're a fucking pussy too, you ugly fucking bald bitch. You said there's 0% chance of this fight happening, but there's 0% chance of you getting some fucking pussy. Conor, you're scared. Dana, you're scared. Sign the fucking contract, you idiots. Jesus fucking Christ.
So we knew he wanted to fight McGregor. It's probably just building up a fight, yada yada yada. Somebody actually sent that to me, so there you go. There's your boxing news, okay? And so the rest of it is going to be boxing news, and we'll get a little boxing Twitter segment in there as well. Well, Bob Arum was in a recent interview, and when he talked about Sean Porter, the Sean Porter fight can be made next for Terrence Crawford. And he said basically a fair offer would be $1 million for Porter. $1 million. Remember, he did the Teofimo Lopez for the Lomachenko fight. He put out the 1.25, take it or leave it. If you don't take this fight, you'll be fighting for $300,000 in a defense, just a random defense. So take it or leave it. Obviously, that wasn't the end deal. ESPN came up, as we know. Even Bob admitted it. Put a couple $100,000 on top of it. Got it up to 1.5, and they did it. But literally, he says, for a Sean Porter fight to fight Crawford, you're going to pay him, what was it, $4 million, $4.5 million, $5 million, his guarantee. They paid Khan over $5 million, and you're going to offer Porter $1 million and said that's fair, take it or leave it. Or you can go to purse bid. And so that would be the only option for Showtime or Fox or whatever, Al Heyman, to go and buy the whole fight. And remember, the reason why he's saying this, I mean, there's been no negotiations for the fight. So it's kind of bullshit, of course. It's a press run, which he does all the time, that he's going to sit here and put out, well, if we were going to negotiate the fight, this is what you get. Here's $1 million. That's it. It's like, come on. But he knows, and I said this multiple times, just because he's mandatory, or, once they actually call the mandatory, that doesn't mean the fight will get done. Even if you do the purse bid, Bob knows you're going to have to crazy overpay for this because, Porter being the mandatory only gets 25% of the whole purse. So to get enough money for Porter for it to be worth it for him, which is what, 2, 3, whatever million, at least, I mean, maybe he'd say, well, I should get what Khan gets, whatever. But it's not $1 million, obviously. But he knows there's a good chance no one's going to way overpay for it to make it worth for Porter and still pay. So it's just funny. This is how serious he is about making other fights. He sits there and already says, take it or leave it, or overpay like crazy. That's just him. Anyway, this is coming from Gabriel Montoya, actually. This is from Triple G talking about an Oscar De La Hoya comeback fight. Because remember, De La Hoya was talking about, that's an easy fight for me, that type of style I eat up type thing. This is what Gennady said. Everything involving Gennady Golovkin for him is a nightmare. He can say whatever, but let me put it this way. If I got an opportunity to legally kill a person in the ring, I might seize it. So let's see if all these Golovkin fans get mad at Golovkin like they did for Wilder for talking about catching a body. I'm assuming that's not how that's going to go. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe. I'll do that in the Twitter segment. Oh, my God. Here we go, guys. Here we go. Here's these exhibitions. Aaron Carter, who in this picture looks like a little kid, signed celebrity boxing contract, wants boy band opponent. That was on TMC. There you go. We talked a little bit about this. I don't think I think I mentioned this, but I'll do it again. Kevin Iole spoke to Knucklehead Sean, at Knucklehead Sean, I should say, Sean Gibbons of MP Promotions. He said Senator Manny Pacquiao said he was impressed and thought Spence looked good. Still has the fire to fight in 2021 and would be willing to take on Spence. I'm not sure if I read that last week because that did come a little later. I think I did, though. I'm pretty sure. This is from Steve Kim. My understanding is that the PBC is planning some sort of tournament 122, which makes sense because they got a lot of dudes at 118 and 122. That's for sure. Little back and forth going on between. Well, hold on. There's some other fight news before we get into it. Oh, and this is already from Albuquerque. WBO 122 champ Angelo Leo. This is to Jorge Hernandez. Tells him that he tested positive for COVID. For that fight. And that possibly, him and Fulton, who tested positive back in August, Fulton and Leo were actually going to fight in August, but then it got delayed, and they were going to maybe be the co-feature on this weekend. So COVID now affected all four, regardless of what happened, which is pretty freaking crazy. Sounds like that's pushed back to January. Here, Michael Coppinger, sources say Luis Neri and Brandon Figueroa have agreed to a deal for 122-pound title slated in the first quarter of 2021. Neri and Figueroa, that's all action. I wonder if that would kick it off. This is also from Coppinger. Caleb Plant will defend his 168-pound belt on PBC on Fox January 30th. I've heard some rumors about it being Eubank Jr., and then maybe he'll try to make a run at the guy Canelo. So we'll see. We will see, no doubt about it. The winner, just so you know, the WBC said the winner of Canelo and Callium Smith will be ordered to face Yildirim in 90 days. You got to take that fight in 90 days to keep the belt. So that's kind of funny, kind of interesting, I'd have to say. There is some other. This is a tweet. We'll do boxing Twitter. There might be a couple news items in here. In today's boxing writers meeting, this is for The Athletic from Coppinger, someone nominated Clay Collard for Fighter of the Year. He put seriously. And, of course, Clay Collard actually lost this last weekend. This is John Nash. According to the Telegraph, Joshua's getting $13 million, would have been $10 million more with the full gate. Pulev is getting $4 million. Almost a third of what he would have gotten for the 2017 fight. there's also a pay-per-view upside. So that's I guess. This is Jake Donovan. I'm confused by all the negotiation talks. I thought Fury's world-class manager already secured a 2-fight deal 6 months ago. That is kind of funny. We'll see how that goes. As I mentioned earlier, Andre Ward did announce that he is no longer co-manager with Shakur Stevenson. Sounds like Jay Prince, who he was, sharing with. It sounds like they are no longer. It's Jay Prince, and then now there's basically like a promotional company involved in there too. This is what Carcino was saying about Stephen A. Smith. Yo, y'all, I just finished watching The Kid, featherweight Chris Colbert. Let me tell you something. Lightning quick, spectacular boxer, closest thing to Mayweather I've seen as a talent. Might be too skilled for Gervonta, but skill-wise, he could fight with anyone. He's special. That's what he was saying. And Verdejo was up 78-72 on 2 cards in 77-74. The show is actually about to drop off here, so we'll just keep going per usual as we get out of here. MTK Global is proud to announce a partnership with world-renowned boxer turned trainer Garcia Boxing, Robert Garcia, and MTK Global. That's probably a really good deal for that. They're really doing some damage. I'll say that. They are doing some damage. This is kind of funny. Anthony Joshua reveals why he'd love to go back and fight Andy Ruiz in KO because he's tougher now. He's mentally tougher now. Joshua admits he's tougher now over this last year. I wasn't training to get fit. I was more, fixing my mistakes, making mistakes. He learned about the mental aspects, of the game. So I got tough. And unfortunately, it led to a performance where I had to stick and move because I didn't want to be labeled a quitter or a loser and someone that's not meant to be, the legacy stuff when it comes to heavyweight. But he said, I'd love to go back and fight Ruiz again because rematch or no rematch, I'd knock him out. You got to be mentally tough, but just being in the gym for a year training, it doesn't automatically make you mentally tough. And for him to now say, dude, if I fought, he already had a rematch, could have knocked him out, but he fought safe, and I'm not hacking him for that. But when he turns right around and says, dude, if I had a rematch now, it'd be a knockout for sure. That'd be easy, dude. That'd be easy work. I would knock him out, no problem. To me, that's like, oh, really? Oh, so you'd knock him out now, even though you already had a rematch. So you want a third fight to prove that you'd knock him out? It's like, who cares, dude? Like, stick to what you say. Like, if you thought it was a smarter way to fight to win, which it clearly was for you, that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But to sit here and now say, oh, if I fought now that I've been trained, now that I've been mentally tougher in the gym, now, and only now in the rematch I can knock him out. Anyway, we're going to get out of here. It's about to cut off. Actually, I think it just did. All right, peace.